Hello everyone! Today I'm going to be making a pair of 1960s cigarette pants from Vogue V9189, originally released as Vogue 3011. The pattern includes 4 styles. I'm going to be making the longest pair in the regular option. This style of pattern pants was very popular in the 1960s. You see it originally on actresses like Francois Hardy and Marilyn Monroe at the beginning of the decade, and then later widely available in Sears and the Bay catalogs. Today I'm going to be making these pants out of a geometric quilt cotton. I got it from AliExpress, I believe for around $7 a yard. I find that if you're struggling to decide on a fabric for these pants, it can be a good idea to go and look at brands that you like and kind of get a feel for the palette of fabric that you personally like. It can also be a good idea to look at historical photos of these pants and get an idea of what people were wearing and the kind of direction that you're drawn to. I personally went on Pinterest and I looked at photos from the period. I also looked at the Sears fabric catalog just to get an idea of like what fabric was popular back then. That doesn't have to be the direction you go in. You can literally do whatever fabric you want. For this project, you will need your fabric, one 6-inch zipper, matching interfacing for the waistband, and thread that matches your fabric of choice. I began this project by ironing out my pattern pieces and cutting the pant legs. I tried to line up all of my pieces along the bottom of the fabric so that the pattern was uniform across all of the pieces. I ended up getting pretty lucky and the patterns actually lined up at the back by accident. You can see that I'm using these weights that I got. They're actually washers. I think they were like 10 cents each. Here I am laying out the waistband. I'm trying to lay out the fabric so that the pattern goes in the opposite direction of the pants, because when I looked at other pants, historically they included that, so I'm just copying it here. I use my ruler just to make sure I get a sharper edge on the corner, because I find that some of my pattern pieces tend to be a little crumpled. One of the things that's funky with this pattern is there's all sorts of markings on this waistband that are not included in the instructions. I actually have no idea what any of them mean, and I've made these pants about 3 times with different fabric. Maybe that was something lost in translation from the original pattern, but it's not really clear. I'm sure they all have a use. Like, there's supposed to be a version of these pants with belt loops, but it's just not mentioned specifically. Here I am tracing my darts to the opposite side of the fabric because I traced them onto the front. These pants include 4 darts. There's 2 on each side of the front and the back. I tend to hand baste my darts, but today I was feeling a little brave, so I used some pins and I'm just blasting through them with a tight stitch length. Now I'm pressing my darts in the same direction. The inside of this fabric kind of looks like a subway map to me, personally. Here I am pinning the pocket in place. These pants feature a zipper hidden behind one of the pockets, so you begin by basting down the bottom half of that zipper pocket. For these pants, I specifically got a YKK zipper. I've made these pants previously, and the zipper actually, the teeth ripped because of the amount of tension on the side. Just because these pants, they sit in a way that is tight to the curve of your body. Does anyone else use their ham like this? I find it really useful if you have a certain seam allowance and you need to hold it in place while you iron. I know I'm probably not supposed to because the cotton will shrink, but it's just so convenient. I can't be bothered to do it any other way. And then after that, you're going to install your zipper. I personally like to baste in my zipper completely just to make sure that the tension and the placement and everything is done before I go over it with the zipper foot. I'm pretty excited to be sewing with cotton for these pants. I've been trying to make a lot more natural fiber items for my wardrobe. I think it's true what they say, that natural fiber items don't have to be washed as much. They really do smell less. And it's nice sewing your own clothing because a lot of the time natural fibers can be a bit of a luxury at this point. Like, buying clothing is definitely cheaper when it's polyester. And so when you sew your own clothing and you're buying cotton by the yard and it's, roughly the same price as polyester, you can really design these luxurious outfits for yourself, which is sad because I feel like everybody deserves to wear natural fibers. And then after I installed that zipper, I went and I serged all of my pattern pieces. And if you don't have a serger, you can go ahead and zigzag your stitches or hand overcast them or use pinking shears. So then after I installed the zipper, I went down the legs of the pants and I sewed them in place. And in hindsight, I kind of wish that I had chose a fabric for the pocket that matched the fabric at the front, because when I turn to the side, you can actually see that black zip. I didn't anticipate the amount of gaping that there would be. After you've gone down the side, you go up and you top stitch the pockets in place. Then I took the project to the floor and I pinned the crotch seam. It's this funny looking half moon. You sew up the leg and then around the pocket for one entire seam. This is part of the reason I serged. That way I wouldn't have to worry about any fraying on the inside of the pocket. And so this is what your pants should look like after you've sewn up both sides. I've also gone around the crotch and reinforced that seam by sewing it flat. Here's the pocket right next to the zipper. At this point, you're going to want to install your waistband. I like to sew mine flat, and then I folded it over and stitched in the ditch the entire way around. And here's the finished product, a great pair of pants for the summer. This cotton is going to be super breathable, hopefully, and I'll be able to wear them biking and to the beach and doing all sorts of activities. I hope you guys found this tutorial helpful, and I'm super excited to see the pants that you make. Hope to see you in the next one. Bye!